Going to give you a little point, and you can go. Just a second.
Marta, you look beautiful.
Hi, I'm Marta Michaud. Happy Saturday. I'm here today with some of my favorite people in New York City with Jei Atacama hosting a classic French-styled salon.
Hello, I'm Jei Atacama, and it is a pleasure to have all these new people in my life and to hear everything they have to say about themselves and about their lives, about their work, what they believe or don't believe.
So welcome everyone. Because we have such a fantastic room full of people, why don't we start by introducing our lovely community? What do you think, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds
Colin, I happen to know you personally, and I know that you're very brave, so why don't we let you go first, telling us who you are and a little bit about yourself, where you came from and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm Colin Lively, as you know. I grew up simultaneously in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, in a tiny little town with just 13 streets, so creative they call them First Street, Second Street, Third Street, all the way through 13. So that was my beginnings, and I sort of lost myself in the fantasy world of television. I grew up in the golden age of television, that I think was the best, and I used to pretend to be, dancing with Guy Lombardo on New Year's Eve. I also grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, at the same time, which was just sort of a bigger town like Rainelle, West Virginia, and again, got into my own imagination because I was a solitary child. Anyway, I did have 3 nieces that were just a few years younger than me, and I became attracted to chopping off their hair, even sometimes chopping off their eyelashes, and then I chopped off the doll's hair. So I knew at a very early age that I was going to grow up to be a hairdresser, which is what I've been since I was like 22 years old, and it has offered me such an interesting life. Not a lot of money, but an interesting life, and that's what I am to this day, a New York City hairdresser.
And I think many of us, at least in our age group, had the opportunity, as we came from small towns, like myself, I grew up in Vermont, which was also in the hills, of having been raised by television to a certain extent, and then having the Big Apple attract us into the city at some point. How many other people in the room came from a smaller area to the city? Yeah. And what type of projects are you working on now, Paul?
Well, I've done a lot of things in my career.
Right.
I once upon a time owned salons. For 10 years I was the artistic director for the Elizabeth Arden Red Door salons, which is what brought me to New York, which wasn't that difficult since I was in Cleveland at the time the request came. Oh yes, I'll take that job, thank you very much. And then I went into a partnership for a very brief time in a salon in Tribeca. But then about 10 years ago, I became a freelance hairdresser. Honestly, it's the best job I've ever had. I haven't been restricted by rules like I had at Elizabeth Arden. I don't like to follow rules. I've been rebellious since I was a child, and I hope to be rebellious till the day I die. And so like I say, for the last 10 years, I've been a freelance hairdresser. It happened quite by accident because I didn't really have a place to go to work. So I suggested to a few clients that I either come to their home.
So I bet you meet some really remarkable and interesting people now.
Oh,
And have that
it's the greatest
interpersonal one-on-one
clientele
relationship with them.
because a lot of people want the convenience of me coming to them, which has been a boon to my business because I get to do the traveling, which saves them a lot of time. A lot of my clients are in high-powered positions, so instead of sitting in a salon and having their hair done, they can continue with their work, they can do their computer work, phone work with their staffs, while they're just sort of there with me working on their hair. And it's lovely for all for all,
That's
especially me.
fantastic, and creative and different, that's wonderful. Okay, great, well, and